guys, it's Sabrina, and today I'm going to be trying out the celebrity book club trend. I've seen videos like this going around a lot, and honestly I'm obsessed with them. I've been watching a lot of like UnCarly and Jack Edwards, and I think it's so fun, so I want to try it out. I might do more of them in the future if it goes well and if I like it. But for this video I decided to read Phoebe Bridgers' favorite books. I love Phoebe Bridgers. I've loved her since the Stranger in the Alps days, right at the beginning, and I will never forgive the internet for making her famous before I can go and see her in concert. Now last year Vulture actually did an interview with Phoebe where she was asked for her 10 favorite books. So that's what I'm going to be going off of for this. I've chosen 3 books off this list. I don't know anything about them, and I don't want to know anything about them other than what Phoebe has said about them. So the first book on this list is Conversation with Friends by Sally Rooney. I've heard a lot about Sally Rooney, don't know anything about her. Phoebe said, and I quote, "Not a deep cut, I know, but this book deeply affected me last year. It made me feel like my life experience is completely unoriginal and reaffirmed that I wish I was Irish." That's not a lot for me to go off of, but I'm excited to read this. I've been wanting to read Sally Rooney for a while because I feel like I always hear about her. The second book I chose is The Idiot by Leif Bottoman, and Phoebe said, about this book, don't judge a book by its plot. The story of a girl who has a crush at school, but the writing is better than Salinger. Oh my god, I don't know why I said it like that. Anyway, that doesn't give me a lot either, Phoebe, but I like the praise, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And then lastly, I also picked up Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. About this one, Phoebe said, horny, spooky, sad, smart, queer, funny. Maybe my favorite book of all time. And if you're into Law and Order SVU fanfiction, look no further. I'm not into Law and Order or fanfiction, but the fact that she said this was her favorite book of all time made me like have to pick it up. And also, pretty cover, and it's some short stories, which I don't read often, so I think will be really interesting for me to feel these out. So first I'm going to pick up Conversation with Friends, I think, just because I've heard so much about Sally Rooney, so I'm really interested in this one. A bit more than the others, just because I haven't heard about the others before. But yeah, I'm gonna get to reading, and I'll update you guys with my thoughts. Hi, hello, I'm in my bed. I'm reading Conversation with Friends by Sally Rooney. I am 81 pages in. Almost 10 chapters. This is not what I expected. I can kind of like, maybe I'm making this up in my head, but I feel like I can kind of get why Phoebe likes it. The writing feels kind of like dry and matter-of-fact, and it's kind of, the plot isn't anything special yet either. It's kind of about this girl named Frances and her best friend Bobby. Frances is a poet, and they meet this woman named Melissa who is a photographer, and she's going to do a feature on them. So they start hanging around with her, and like I feel like I can't say much more than that because I don't know what other people consider spoilers. But it's interesting so far. Like I said, I think the read's a little dry, it's a little matter of fact, and to me that kind of connects it to Phoebe a little bit because I think Phoebe has a real talent for saying things really plainly but in a way that hurts. Like, for example, a couple pages back, Frances is kind of freaking out about this one situation that I feel like I can't really talk about, but she's talking about how obviously she's like nervous at the situation, and she said, I sat inside for the hour before the launch pulling knots out of my hair with my fingers, pulling them so hard that little broken strands of hair tangled and snapped out. I thought, probably they won't even be there. I'll have to come home and sweep up all these strands of hair and feel terrible. Probably nothing of import happened in my life again. I'll just have to sweep things up until I die. I don't know why that feels so Phoebe to me, but it does. But yeah, I'm not going to say that it's like a favorite yet, but I do think it's very interesting. Okay, hi everyone. I've just finished Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, the first of Phoebe Bridgers' favorite books. I didn't really fully describe what it was about in the first check-in, so just to clarify, you're following the main character Frances, and kind of her best friend Bobby, who she once dated, and they meet this much older couple, Melissa and Nick, and eventually Frances starts having an affair with Nick, basically. I definitely liked this book. I think if I had to choose a rating, I'd give it 3 stars. I liked the writing. I thought it was very to the point, but still kind of hard-hitting. It seemed like every word had been carefully chosen. I also really liked the commentary on modern relationships and emotional repression, kind of. Hi Sophia, are you joining me? Hello! In terms of Phoebe, I would say I think that Phoebe mentioned something about this relating to her life. What did she say? Okay, so Phoebe said, it made me feel like my life experience is completely unoriginal. That's interesting to me, considering this book is all about an affair. The first thing that comes to my mind is that Phoebe's song, Moon Song, is basically about her sleeping with a married man. So that could be where that comes from. I can't pretend like I know Phoebe's life, though, is the thing with trying to figure out that connection. She has that song. She has publicly, like, given hints that she doesn't have a great relationship with her dad. Those are the connections I see. I can't pretend that I know anything else about it. I will say, like I kind of said earlier, I feel like their writing style is almost similar to Phoebe's, in the way that I think Phoebe has a gift for saying things really plainly and succinctly, but in still in ways that are painful, kind of. And that kind of reminds me of this. Like, I liked the writing. I don't think it's like this beautiful lyrical writing, but I do still think it's very emotive, and I do still think it's very well written. I am really interested to read Normal People now, though, because I think that's the more popular of these two. I've also found out from the back that this is a debut, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so anyway, I'd give this one 3 stars, and next I'm going to pick up The Idiot, which I would pick it up, but it's all the way over there, so. This ice cream truck just hangs out right in front of my house, I swear, for like 10 hours every single day. It's so dark in here, but I'm doing my best. I am 300 pages into The Idiot, which I think is most of the way. So far I'm really liking it. Based off of what Phoebe said, I remember her saying it had really good writing, which completely checks out. And then she also summarized it about kind of being about a girl who has a crush at school, but it's also so much more than that. And that also completely checks out, obviously, because she wouldn't lie, but like, I am sensing a common theme in the writing. I think that this is definitely better writing, in my opinion, than Sally Rooney, but at the same time, it's both kind of like dry. They're both very slow going, kind of bare plot-wise, but I do think this one has a lot more going for it, personally, and I think the writing in here is a lot better. I will say, though, that I feel like I'm not smart enough for this. Like, I feel like there's so much happening that I'm missing out on. Part of me wonders if that may be purposeful, because essentially you're following this girl who's going to Harvard. She's a freshman. She meets a boy named Ivan, and she has a huge crush on him, and they start emailing back and forth, but they don't really talk in person. And in these emails, they're very cryptic, like what they say to each other. For the main character, Selena, it makes sense because we're kind of seeing these snippets of the rest of her life, so like maybe small things that she's learning in class. She's thinking a lot about language and what it means and the limits and other things along the theme of language. And so for us, her emails make a little bit more sense because she'll throw in some random sentence about something that's been on her mind that doesn't connect to anything, and that if you didn't read that, it wouldn't make sense to you. But what I'm trying to get at is that their emails to each other are very cryptic. We can kind of understand Selena's, we don't really understand all of Ivan's. So part of me wonders if the stuff I'm not getting is kind of purposeful because it kind of sets the mood, like the emails, like how cryptic it would be for the other person to be reading it. But then at the same time, it's kind of just like, I do think there's a lot I'm missing out on, but so far I'm really liking this, actually, and I'm hoping I can finish it. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I will check back in once I'm done. Hey guys, I just wanted to do one more super quick check-in. I finished The Idiot like a day or two ago. I'm currently in the middle of Her Body and Other Parts. I have one more short story to go, and then I'm completely done, and I can do my overall wrap-up. So far, this is amazing. I love it so much. Yeah, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna read this, and then I'll do the overall wrap-up. Hey guys, long time no see. I have finally finished reading Phoebe Bridgers' favorite books, or at least the 3 that I chose. I wasn't really able to check in much for the last one because I was working all of last week and I wanted to die, but I'll fill you in at the end. First, I'm going to take it book by book in order that I read them. So first, I want to talk about Normal People, but oh no, that's not the book. Okay, so first, I want to talk about Conversation with Friends by Sally Rooney. This book is about an affair. I liked it. I mean, I wasn't crazy about it. It was a little slow. I gave it 3 stars at the end. I did think the writing was good, but as I went on, the next 2 books had far better writing, in my opinion. And I am interested to continue with this author, but I wouldn't put her on a list of my favorites. So, what did this say about Phoebe? Well, Conversation with Friends, first of all, has really morally gray characters. I mean, they're having an affair, so everyone's kind of messy. I feel like in a lot of Phoebe's music and even the stuff that she posts on social media, she kind of shares layers that she's also just kind of messy. So from reading this book, I feel like she's interested in stories with morally great characters. The story also has like fairly little plot. There's not too much that goes on. It's kind of just character driven. It makes me think that she's interested in exploring these themes of morality maybe, and also just realistic portrayals of people. Like, people are messy. People aren't always likable. So personally, I think that Phoebe's probably into a realistic portrayal of characters, and she's interested in getting into their minds and seeing what makes them do messy things. After that, I read The Idiot. This book I gave 4 stars, so right off the bat, I liked it a bit more than the first one. I think Phoebe put it best when she said that this is the story of a girl who has a crush at school, but it's also so much more than that, because the crush is definitely the center point, but then there's so much other stuff happening. Like, the main character is really exploring themes of communication and language and how language connects people, but also how language is something that can show how people are different and how language is different between cultures and ethnicities, stuff like that. And also so much more. Which brings me to what this book tells me about Phoebe. And what this book tells me is that Phoebe is way smarter than me. I could not grasp everything this book was telling me. Like, there were so many little things that were just thrown in there that I definitely didn't fully understand. There was one review on Goodreads, I think, that said that this book is a really good writer showing off that she's a really good writer, and I completely agree 100%. I think the writing was so good and also so clever. It was really funny at times, but again, I feel like I definitely missed some really important details, but I would love to read this book again. And then maybe in the second reading I can be as smart as Phoebe is, apparently, to like fully understand this and put this in one of her favorite book lists. And then lastly, we had my favorite book of the bunch, which was Her Body and Other Parts, which is a collection of short stories. I'm shocked by this. I'm gonna say right off the bat, I give it 5 stars. I wasn't expecting to like it either, because I'm not usually a short story person. I'm much more of a very long, dense novel person. And short stories usually have a hard time catching my interest, honestly. I need to connect with characters more, and I feel like that's often an issue I have with short story collections. However, this collection was so good. It's hard to talk about short stories because obviously there's a lot of different plots, a lot of different things going on. If I had to put this in a genre, I think it would probably be horror. Not like Stephen King horror, but something more like toned down and more kind of insidious. Like, a lot of these stories had creepy elements, but they weren't always the main focus, and usually those creepy elements were there as a way to discuss larger themes. A lot of the stories in this book revolved around like feminism, queerness, sexuality. I just can't speak highly enough about this. I can't wait to order all her other books, which I think there's only one, but still I'm gonna order it. Also, the writing in this book, far better than the other two, which is, I mean, a little unfair because I like that writing too, but this is just amazing. This was beautiful, descriptive writing. It drew you in from the first sentence. I love this so much. What this tells me about Phoebe is that maybe we have similar reading taste and maybe we should hang out. I think, if anything, this is a book I would have expected Phoebe to like. I think it's on the list that this was one of her favorite books of all time, or her favorite book, and that just makes sense. Like, after you read this, it's like, of course Phoebe Bridgers would love this book, because it's spooky, and it's horny, and it's has a lot to do with sexuality, which is like a funny 3 things to categorize Phoebe as, but I think you get what I'm saying if you know who Phoebe is. But really, this book just reaffirms that Phoebe is a true spooky bitch who has amazing taste in books, and she can appreciate amazing writing. And honestly, I will say that reading these 3 books has made me want to read Phoebe's other favorite books, because there are more on the list. So I will keep that in mind, because I might want to do that. But that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video.